NBC 26 is mourning with Manchester. From the New York Stock Exchange to France, people are taking pause to honor the victims of the bombing.
We will not let the terrorists win. Our values will prevail.
Hundreds gathering for a vigil in Manchester to mourn the 22 people killed and 59 injured, including children.
It was just the worst experience of my life.
The effects felt from across the ocean and here at home.
I feel really bad for the people, what happened to the people in Manchester, and my heart goes out to them.
As Manchester begins to try and heal. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Megan Lowry. The British Prime Minister is raising the UK's threat level to critical, replacing police officers with military at some public events tonight with belief another attack is imminent. Meanwhile, police and a grieving community continue to search for answers. Jay Gray is in Manchester for us.
Thousands gather in the center of Manchester City, drawn here by their loss and resolve.
The people of Manchester will remember the victims forever.
The images and sounds so different than the night before. An explosion outside the Manchester Arena, followed by chaos.
Everyone just started running, people were screaming and crying, and we just tried to look for the first exit.
It was near one of those exits where a suicide bomber, now identified as 22-year-old Salman Abedi, launched his attack as an Ariana Grande concert was ending. At least 22 people killed, more than 50 wounded. Among the victims, children, one as young as 8 years old. In the panic following the blast, parents scrambled to find their children.
I need my daughter home. I need to know where she is.
Investigators say Abedi was well known to British authorities, had a UK passport, and was of Libyan descent. Police have arrested a man who may have helped Abedi as the search for evidence and answers continues.
Our priority is to continue to establish whether he was acting alone or working as part of a wider network.
British Prime Minister Theresa May vowed police will bring to justice anyone responsible for what she called a callous terrorist attack.
An attack that targeted some of the youngest people in our society with cold calculation.
Kids who just minutes earlier had been dancing and singing, along with Grande, who responded to the blast on social media saying, "Broken from the bottom of my heart. I'm so sorry. I don't have words." Speechless, like so many, after the attack. Jay Gray, NBC News, Manchester, England.
President Donald Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan are condemning the attack in Manchester tonight.
Dozens of innocent people, beautiful young children, savagely murdered in this heinous attack upon humanity. I repeat again that we must drive out the terrorists and the extremists from our midst.
To deliberately target innocent children is cowardice in its most heinous form. So we should not be surprised that ISIS has claimed responsibility for this attack. But we will never bow or bend to radical Islamic terror.
Here in Northeast Wisconsin, the tragedy in Manchester has many wondering and weighing in on why a terrorist attack could occur out of all places, a pop concert. Today, NBC 26's Eric Kress begins our live team coverage. Eric?
Most of us will never forget where we were on 9/11. It was the moment in time when most Americans can look back on as the day terrorism started impacting the U.S. directly. But as acts of terrorism like what happened in Manchester become more and more frequent, it seems to continually hit closer to home. A democracy and justice studies professor at UWGB says radical Islamic groups are selling young men sold on the ideology of salvation for such attacks. They can convince the disenfranchised to fight for them.
This is a fight that the radical Islamicists want brought to them. This is a global war. This is an apocalyptic battle between, in their eyes, good and evil. They do not want to stop and will not stop.
As to why a concert venue was the perfect target, well, some political experts argue the artist performing yesterday is a symbol of Western values, and that by targeting people, even teenagers, partaking in the show, Islamic extremists are asking Western society to bring the fight to them. With NBC 26, I'm Eric Crest.
Thank you, Eric. A Little Chute woman is following news of the attack. She got home this morning from a trip to Manchester. NBC 26's John Erickson is live in our Green Bay newsroom. John, she was near the arena just a day before the attack.
Megan, she was sightseeing with her fiance. The trip so fresh that she's still jet lagged this afternoon. We talked with Megan Kirchhoff at her home in Little Chute this afternoon, and this is what she saw in Manchester. A sunny day, just about one day before the attack. She knows that had the timing been different, she could have been affected more than she already is.
I know we're lucky. We could have just as easily been there when it happened, and yeah, we just got lucky. It's sad, very sad.
Her fiance lives in the Manchester area. It's where he's from. Megan says Manchester to him is what Green Bay is to her, the hub of the area. She says he still can't believe this happened in his city. And Megan has a daughter. She says if her daughter would have been a few years older, maybe they would have been at the concert. We're working on that part of the story for the news at 6. Live in the Green Bay newsroom, John Erickson, NBC 26 News.
Thanks, John. Well, Sports Director Charlie Sakaitis joins us now with reaction from the sports world to the tragedy, continuing our live team coverage. Charlie?
Well, Megan, as you said, that tragedy in Manchester happened an ocean away, but the idea of a bombing at a major entertainment event does hit home here in Green Bay due to the Packers and legendary Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers was asked about the tragedy and whether or not that's a concern he has as a player today at OTAs.
Our thoughts and our prayers are obviously with those people in Manchester. It's a terrible thing to see. You know what? It's always something you know could happen. You trust the security of the facility you play in, but there's some crazy people out there in this world who I don't understand it. I don't think any sane person understands how you can go through with an act like that. But there's people who want to harm other people all the time.
Rodgers added that it's important for spectators to be vigilant along with security and, quote, if you see something, say something, unquote. We'll have more from the quarterback on more Packer-related matters in sports. For now, keeping you connected, I'm Charlie Sakaitis for NBC 26.
Thank you, Charlie. The attack at the concert venue in Manchester, England, highlights the difficulty of preventing terrorist attacks on so-called soft targets. In 2017, security has become pervasive everywhere we go: train stations, airports, concerts, sporting events, and even shopping malls.
To secure all places at all times at 100% security. What you can try to do is to gather as much intelligence and information as possible about those planning these attacks.
Police say they often rely on the public to alert them to suspicious activity. NBC 26's Shara Taylor is talking with leaders at local arenas on measures they're taking to keep you safe. Shara?
We spoke with the Packers and Resch Center staff who say they are always concerned about safety in order to prevent and avoid any possible issues during events. At the Resch Center, they have security staff in T-shirts inside the building, as well as armed off-duty Brown County Sheriff's deputies inside and outside the building. Resch Center Corporate Communications Manager Terry Charles says they are always evaluating and reevaluating their security plan. In addition to security staff, safety measures include bag checks, security wands, and walk-through metal detectors. He says for most recent concerts, they have performed security checks outside of the building.
So we just figured it works out better with the table set up outside and the security checks to be done outside. It just seems to be a more efficient process that way.
At Lambeau Field, you'll also see similar security measures. Packers management say, quote, Lambeau Field safety measures have evolved over the past decade, from pat-downs to handheld metal detecting wands to walk-through metal detectors. The Packers say they work with the NFL and federal agencies for safety measures. Keeping you connected, Shara Taylor, NBC 26.
Well, schools were put on lockdown in Appleton, and we have the latest on what caused officers to be called to the area. Plus, a rainy, unseasonably cold day today. Will it warm up soon? Cameron has your forecast when we return.
You're connected to NBC 26 News at 5 with Megan Lowry, Chief Meteorologist Cameron Moreland, and Sports Director Charlie Sakaitis. NBC 26 News at 5.